Today on Get Paid, we get Nick Holzherr, the founder and CEO of GitLaw. So Nick built Whisk, now Samsung Food, from his dorm room, reaching to 500 million monthly interactions, and then sold it to Samsung. Now, he's solving the problem that almost killed him. GitLaw gives you, as a founder, 300 plus legal templates for free. So GitLaw and Get Paid are getting together to write the rules for tomorrow's agentic MSAs before the lawyers catch up to what's already happening. We'll try to answer the question, when your agent commits fraud, who goes to Alligator Alcatraz? Nick, let's get paid. So it's called the EU Data Act.
Yeah.
Right? I don't understand why they will pass it. You're saying it's because
the majority of businesses, registered businesses, are tiny.
Yeah.
0 employees or 2 or 3 employees.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like consumers, and they're trying to, I think, help consumers have choice, right?
It's like a consumer protection act.
Consumers for businesses now,
Okay.
right? I don't think it's trying to protect Google versus Oracle.
Right. And why wouldn't, let the market figure this out? Like at some point, wouldn't there be a player that comes out with like a per month situation, beats everybody else to the punch and let it sort out?
I would let the market figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a great idea.
Okay.
But like, I imagine that's what was in the mind of these politicians that put it together.
Got it. So like, what does that mean for like, the ServiceNow and the Oracles and the Salesforces of the world?
I mean, I think they're just gonna have to change how they structure the contract. They're gonna have to like front load more cost into like an implementation fee or like a one-off fee or a starting fee, or maybe they can like have some kind of like high initial cost that you get rebates if you like stay longer or something. Like there's other ways of like contracting to get the same outcome. And I think for the large companies, that's what they'll do, right? Because large companies will find ways of making it work. But for the small companies, they probably will get the protection because they won't figure out those things out. Or maybe they will. But yeah, I wouldn't have, if I was a politician, I don't think I would have gone for that.
Interesting, but like, it's funny because I was looking at the other side, like when SAP sells into the US, they don't have none of these problems, right? So they can sell long-term contracts all day long, especially when you are in B2B SaaS, like you compensate your reps. The longer the contract, the better, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember when I was selling a contract to AT&T, to Verizon, the other contract they were negotiating was like a 20-year agreement with Salesforce. Just think about that. Like that rep is going to make a mint, from that contract.
Yeah.
And like this just throws the whole thing out the window.
It does, but it's also changed. It throws out the window how much time you can put into sales. Because like you now no longer can put a highly compensated salesperson onto a call with somebody trying to sell someone if they could just leave quickly, right?
Right.
Unless you have a different structure of the agreement. So often what ends up happening is regulation comes in and people find ways around the regulation.
Oh, I see.
As in by just changing the structure of the contract. I imagine that's what will happen in most of these cases.
Yeah.
Then that doesn't create a great experience. Like I don't think the accept cookie button or, I don't think that's a great experience.
Right.
Personally.
Right.
And like, you see a lot of the US companies who've just pulled out of Europe, right? I remember this especially after GDPR came in and the cookie policy stuff came in.
Right.
Suddenly all these American services just became unavailable in Europe.
Interesting.
And that really sucks as like a consumer in Europe, I think.
Right. So tell me, let's go from the very beginning, the Apprentice. How do you get there? How was your experience? How does one get into the Apprentice?
Well, a friend of mine forwarded me the application. I knew about the show, obviously, but I wasn't like an avid, lifelong fan or anything.
Yeah. So were you watching and it's like, I can crush this. Like this.
When I watched it, I was like, yeah, these people are idiots. Like, why on earth would they make these mistakes? I got through the application process. It was kind of fun initially, the idea of going to an application process like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally you turn up at a hotel, they put you in front of a camera, they see whether you're interesting to watch on a camera or not. If they believe you are, you kind of literally within like an hour or two, you basically get an offer of like, hey, we want you to come on the show. And then they send you to an assessment center to make sure you're not crazy with a psychologist and stuff. And then if you're not crazy, then you get offered to go on the show. And I thought it'd be a great marketing opportunity for my first business. And it worked out. It was brilliant. Now the reality
So wait, you had the business before you went to the...
I had the idea for the business.
Oh, interesting.
I had started some like concepting and stuff, but I hadn't like launched it yet. No.
So you used your time on camera to be like, my recipe is out.
Exactly. And actually that really, really worked. I didn't get an investment. I got to the final. So you only get to pitch your idea if you get to the final of the show.
Okay.
There's someone called Lord Sugar in the UK. In the US, is the version of Donald Trump. He's kind of more left-wing, or he's left-wing of politics, whereas Trump is right-wing, right?
Yes.
It's essentially also kind of a character.
Yeah.
And I got to pitch my business in the final. I didn't win. He didn't invest. But came off the show and literally inbox thousands of people saying, I love it. Can I work with you? And within that, there was like really large companies that wanted to work with us too, like individuals within really large companies. And for the next like 2-3 years, people I wanted to speak to pick up the phone and go like, yeah, Nick from The Apprentice, sure, we'll take the meeting.
That's amazing.
And like,
that's amazing.
It's a recipe for like wasting a lot of your time as well, because people don't really want to buy.
Right.
But you get in the door, right? And as a salesperson, that's kind of what you are.
I mean, that's exactly. As long as you get the bite.
And I also learned quite quickly why people look like idiots on the show.
Why?
They put like you into groups. You're not allowed to communicate. Each of you have like surrounded by cameras and everything, right?
Yeah.
You need to figure out the product, and I need to figure out the marketing plan for it, and the sales and all the adverts. Yeah. So I don't know what the product is. I can speak to you on the phone for like maybe 3 minutes at awkward times. So I'm trying to design the advert for it, and you're trying to design the product, and then both of us are slightly misaligned, right? And then we see each other at the end of the day, and they're like, "Why the hell did you design this advert for this like product that's nothing to do with it?" And the reason is like they make it deliberately difficult, and on top of that, they have a lot of characters on the show that like create conflict.
Really?
They deliberately.
So wait, are they like the same as you, who were hired off the street, or
No,
like people who are planted to create conflict and make it more interesting?
Not planted, just
they're just a pain in the ass the way they are.
They choose characters.
Yeah,
they've done this for years, right? The team deliberately chooses people who they know will conflict, different personality types, different.
Really?
Yeah. And it works.
Right.
Yeah, it's full of conflict.
Yeah.
It's like dysfunctional team. Right. It's like how not to create a team. Like,
so you put them separate so they don't communicate with each other, and then you create conflict by bringing people who create conflict, and then you just let that rip.
And then you plant ideas as well. So they have like these vox pop sessions, and they call you out. So you're like really time pressured, and they go, right, everyone pause. 2 hours of like vox pops, and you come in and do vox pops for like 2 hours, one at a time, alone, and they tell you like, Manny, did you notice that like Nick was like giving you a really evil look when you said that? He thinks you're rubbish. What do you think about that, Manny? And you're like, was he? Was Nick really giving me like an evil look while I was like, then they go, did you notice that like Sarah over there was like was way better than you, and like she had all the good ideas, and like so they put ideas into your mind, which and then
that's so interesting.
And then of course like those start to kind of like you're in a hype.
So do they select people who with like not to no respect, like weak minds who like are easily influenced by what other people think, or is the fact that you're like alone and like
I think it's alone.
See you
don't get to see your family. You're taken away. They sleep deprive you. You go to bed at like 11 p.m. but they wake you up randomly with no notice, like 4, 5, 6 a.m. You get woken up with cameras waking you up in your bed. They film you brushing your teeth. They film you going to bed. So 24 hours, deeply watched. You don't get to see your family for the whole period of time. You're living in a house with these people in a dorm room, right? You're like 8 beds in a room type thing. So it's intense. Like you end up
a little cuckoo, right? So can you go for a walk?
No.
Like, guys, I need to leave. I need to
no time alone. No time alone. I mean, you can go to the toilet on your own.
Right. Like, will you do that again? Like right now, knowing what you know?
Like the business opportunity was really big.
Yes.
So yeah, I would. like that kind of like coverage. You
it's impossible.
You can't pay for it really.
Right.
You literally can't pay for it if you want to. And maybe if you have a cute,
So what happened to the other contestants? You remain friends? Do you talk every once in a while? You like get together at the pub and like, remember that one time that Sarah said that shit?
We probably should, but,
but you don't.
Then you haven't. No. So and we're friendly with some of them.
Right.
But not like no. I haven't seen them for like.
And do they have like their own business ideas that took off? Like
yeah, I would say like maybe 30% are like serious business people.
Yeah.
Like I mean, everyone's probably serious, right? But like are able to execute.
Yeah.
And then 70% are like have done other things. Like some of them have become like reality TV type people.
Really?
You get offers. You come off the show,
and
your inbox. Some of the emails in your inbox are like, "Do you want to come and do Dancing on Ice or something?" Like I don't know what the names of the shows are, right?
Yeah.
It's those kind of.
Yeah.
And some people go down that route.
So did they call you for like Love Island after this? Like,
I was asked to go on. I can't remember even what it was, but I think maybe Love Island was in the mix. Some Dancing, I think, was in the mix. Big Brother was in the mix.
Okay.
And I said no to it. I mean, I wanted to build a business.
Got it. So you'd never consider it.
The other things?
Yeah.
No, I mean, no, that's never come into my. I've never considered, and I don't think I would ever consider those.
Do you watch reality TV or you?
No, I don't watch TV really.
Oh, okay. So you went into this thing without having watched it before.
I'd watched the show. I knew like the format
the
of that
premise.
show,
Yeah, yeah,
of The Apprentice.
yeah.
I hadn't watched it religiously. I didn't know all the past episodes, what happened, all the people. I'd watched a few of the series,
Yeah.
but like not religiously on like iPlayer or whatever.
And but after being in it, like, are you jarred somehow? Like, can you not watch reality?
No. I'm fine watching it. I feel like I cringe when I watch my own series back. I've done it once with my wife. He was like, I want to watch it. Like, and I was like, okay, I kind of owe that to you to see. Yeah. But yeah, like it's kind of honestly that's kind of it rarely comes up nowadays. But for the first like 2 years, everywhere you go, they're like, oh, Nick from The Apprentice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I still get it sometimes, like in a restaurant or something. Someone turns around.
That's
like
amazing.
you're like very low down the celebrity list. There's many more famous people out there.
Of course there is. Yeah. But you did it. So like,
It was fun, and I would recommend it.
fun. Yeah.
I'd recommend it.
All right. So let's talk about the idea behind GitLaw, because it's fascinating what you're trying to do. So when do you get mad about the legal bill that you were getting for standard documents that you knew that you just pull it off the shelf and then you send them to you? $5,000.
Yeah, I mean, or 20 grand or 50 grand, or in some cases a lot more, a couple of $100,000. The truth is, all lawyers use templates, and it's not a hidden fact. They use Practical Law or LexisNexis, and there's Template Bank, and they go in, and the template says, here, fill in this, and here, fill in this, and they just do that for you.
But is it because of common law that you have to, you lean on prior decisions?
I mean, there's part of that
to decide, future events kind of thing, or is it just laziness?
No, it's not laziness. I don't think it's like there's
or like practically.
Right. It's practical.
It's practical.
You've got these like standard templates which have been tried and tested in court and have been fought over many, many times.
Got it.
Kind of the industry evolves around this is the right employment template.
Got it.
These are the variables, right?
Yeah.
So what a lawyer's doing is filling that out for you.
Yeah.
And I don't see there's any reason why technology can do that too, right?
Yeah.
There is like a lot of value in lawyers who are commercially, like very astute, very smart, who have seen lots of deals, who can help you negotiate the finer points in a deal. But what happens when you do like a bigger deal often is you buy the services of that really, really smart lawyer you do have a high ROI on their time. But then like 80% of the bill that comes or 90% of the bill that comes is actually like all the operational stuff that has to happen behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a really smart, top of their game lawyer. It's someone who's much more junior early on in their career.
Yeah.
Right? Which are all very smart too, but like many people
hasn't seen as many.
And many people could do that work.
Yeah.
And they're getting charged to you at like $500 or $1,000 an hour. And you're like, well, hang on, that like I've just spent like 50 grand or 100 grand on work from someone who's making mistakes. I'm calling out those mistakes.
Yeah.
And it could be done by me or by someone else on my team. And I don't really see why it's so expensive. And it takes a long time as well. It's black box, right? So like you message your lawyer, I want help. But maybe they respond in a few days, maybe they respond in a week. And you kind of like, you're in their queue because they've got a queue as well.
Right.
So I got really fed up over many, many years of like just spending like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands per contract on these different deals,
right?
Especially M&A investment, like hugely expensive.
Yes.
Especially if you're working with America in the US. Like the hourly rates are not 500 or 1,000. They're like 3,000.
Yeah.
And I just like looked at this and I thought, this could be done so much more easily. I still want that really smart commercial lawyer who can advise me on which deal terms to choose in certain situations. But I also want 90% of this work to be done in a much, much more efficient way.
So when did the idea become prior to 2022 when the GPT-3 was released, or like GPT-4, I guess? Or when did it come and how did it inflect the moment that GPT is released?
Yeah. So initially, GitLaw still has a name that predates ChatGPT,
I
right?
can see that. Yeah.
So we were like, these templates should be open. They shouldn't be like the only available to lawyers.
Yep.
Anybody should have access to these legal templates. So we built this library of like free open templates that are also tried and tested, built by communities of lawyers that also have been battle tested, but are free and open source. Anybody can contribute to them. Anybody can use them for free.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started building like, how can we mark these up in a way that makes them easy to use?
Yeah.
So the fields, the choosing the clauses, all of that. And then how can we make sure that version history is really easy? So if you create a document, somebody else edits in the document, another person makes another edit, that it's really easy to track who did what. Because right now it's like, well, previously it was Google Docs or usually Microsoft documents sent around like in documents. It's really hard to tell like which version, because they're all like copies and like different folders owned by different people.
Right.
And so we built started prototyping that kind of product. Then suddenly, ChatGPT and the other kind of frontier models start popping up, and you're just like, actually, this whole interface where a user is starting to make these edits to the document is no longer going to be the same.
Right.
The whole interface changes.
Right.
And
But wouldn't the premise change? The fact that so you don't even need a junior lawyer anymore,
right.
because like ChatGPT like takes the role of the junior lawyer. It's like how did the premise change with ChatGPT?
Well, yes, you suddenly realize technology is not just about making it easy to fill out the document, but can actually do all of the filling out for you.
Right.
And it can also, all your requirements can be gathered from other information it can infer.
Right.
So it can do way more than it previously could.
Right.
But the same fundamentals still matter. You still need, I think, tried and tested documents. You still want to have version history, especially if you've now got an AI agent making changes in the flow as well.
Right.
You really want to know that.
Right,
and
right,
where we want to take it,
right.
which is like, autonomous agents for you and for me,
Yeah.
negotiating between us, coming to the right agreement between us.
Yeah.
So you and I just need to go, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Oh, interesting.
Then, especially in that situation, you also want to make sure you've got version history, because you want to like make sure that what did your AI and my AI agree together before we got the agreement, right? So the kind of core technology we built before AI happened to be useful, but yeah, the whole premise does change. It's an agent that essentially tries to do as much as it can without your involvement to make it really easy for you.
Right.
So it saves you money. It's essentially free. It's so cheap, it's free, and it's instant. You don't have to wait 2 weeks. And I think that's what's actually most interesting now in today's world is speed.
Interesting.
Because
you're not anybody's queue anymore.
Right. And in a world where your work, I'm not sure what you've seen with AI, but like it speeds everything up, right? The cycles are so fast. You can get work done in like 10% or 20% of the time that it took before. But that means you also need your legal contracts to happen at that speed as well.
Right.
And if you're waiting in a queue, in someone else's queue for a week, and all the other work is fast, but then the contract takes a long time, that sucks.
Right.
What you want is something that's seamless and fast.
Yep. How what's your prediction then? What happens to junior lawyers? So you come out of law school.
I think that's
GitLaw exists, so you don't do the groundwork of the easy agreements. What's your role?
I think law firms are going to change drastically. I think many businesses will. I think you're still going to need people who are commercial, who can help you. You've seen these deals and kind of can be essentially an extension of you and help you figure out what needs to be done.
Yep.
But you're going to need a much less of their time. You basically you don't need the same type of roles in a law firm as you used to. I do think great lawyers will still have a lot of work, like huge amounts of work.
Interesting. How do you define a great lawyer? Like, what is a great lawyer?
I think they have to know what market is, know what the different negotiation points are. They have to be able to, obviously they have to understand the legal aspects too, but basically just much more commercial than previous generations who are much more technically smart, right? Technical prowess, technology will be able to do a lot of that too. So I'm not sure.
So like knowledge of jurisprudence is no longer an advantage, I guess.
Not as much, not nearly as much. I think like where I've seen real ROI in lawyers, some great lawyers who've advised me over the years, they advise you on one clause, which actually suddenly is worth, for example, simple clause right in the beginning of a term sheet in one of the deals I did was the other party had to pay my legal fees.
Yep.
And the other party agreed it in the term sheet level, which meant it was then in the later documents. But that was quite an unusual thing to ask for. And he thought that would be a good thing to ask for at the time. And he was right. And he won. And, the fees I paid, all of the fees was like, ended up being over 100,000.
Yeah.
Paid by the other party. So that's that kind of thing where a lawyer picks up a tiny thing that suddenly is like worth 100 or 200,000 to you.
Interesting.
Personally, sometimes, right?
Interesting.
That's meaningful.
I wish I would have thought of that when I did my term sheets.
It doesn't always come to, like, you can't always win that, but US companies are often more, from what I understand, at least the company that I was working with, he understood the nature of the deal, nature of the jurisdiction, the nature of the other party, and was like, yep, I think we can get this, put it in, and it worked.
Okay, so back to the legal profession. So there's no more work for junior lawyers. You can't make senior lawyers without junior lawyers. Does the whole profession implode, or you manufacture senior lawyers some other way, or senior lawyers just stop to exist because the foundational model just gets so good at this that eventually just go away?
I mean, you're talking about like 30, 40 years, right?
I'm talking 5. I'm talking maybe 2.
But senior lawyers aren't going to go leave the profession within 2 to 5 years. They're going to be around for like,
I mean, it's slowly, right? Like the senior ones are gonna just keel over. You know what I mean? Like we don't last forever, but like, you know what I mean? Like they got
work hard.
Yeah.
I think like, I don't think that problem will probably like rear its head in like maybe 10, maybe 20 years. But I think we're going to be in a very different position in 10, 20 years with AI. I think AI will be so good. I hesitate to kind of like make predictions on whether even senior, like, and I'm not just lawyers, right? Like product builders, whatever. Like, what are we all going to be doing?
But there are companies out there whose job is to put lawyers out of work. Like Harvey, for all its goodness, like it's doing full legal work, and it's saving large legal firms the cost of doing the stuff, right? The same thing with, I think it's Lawhive, the other one.
There's a whole bunch of them. Legora
is given. I just found out a top tier firm just went with Legora instead of Harvey. Like, so they're like
head
to head, right?
Fighting for each other, same customers.
Exactly. They're both using the same models. Like, I don't understand how you're different in this world, but like in that world, like you have fewer jobs in that profession. Yeah, and then play that through. How's that end?
Well, I mean, it's also super interesting because like lawyers are in like,
because you're taking care of the bottom, right? You're taking care of all the forms. So like there's no more
bottom
work. Yeah, there's no more form work. Yeah. And now there's no more sophisticated work.
But then I think that plays out in almost every industry. Like I can't think of many industries. There are a few, but that doesn't.
Law is all about words. I mean, it turns out that language models are pretty good at that. Like that is their bag. You know what I'm saying?
That's 100% true. I think lawyers are in a really interesting innovator's dilemma, right? Because they are essentially charging out really high hourly rates that are much bigger than their pro rata of their annual salary, like significantly different, right?
100%. Yeah.
Their pro rata is maybe $50, $100, and they're charging out $500 or $2,000.
Yes,
it's hugely different. And who's benefiting? It's the firm owners who spend a lot of their time at social events, enjoying life.
Interesting.
While
with a black tie,
while their juniors are working super long hours, commercial top tier firm lawyers are like, they work hard, right?
Yeah.
And those profits they get some of those profits, but not that many of them. Most of them go to the firm, right? I.e. the partners who are at social events.
Right.
So like that model, they're going to want to hold on to that for as long as they can.
Right.
Because they've worked all those previous jobs. They've worked in the really hard long hours while other people were enjoying the benefits.
Right.
So like, now it's their time.
So the social contract is broken now. So like the people at the bottom like no longer get this shot at being the lazy fat ones on the top, right?
So then exactly what happens when the people at the bottom like go, am I still gonna get that at the end? And then am I willing to work this hard if I'm not gonna get that thing?
They all become farmers because that's really hard to prove. So like what happens to that? So like
you do hear a lot of people in like tech or legal suddenly disappearing, going to like farming or something. But like I hadn't put those two together. But you're probably right. Maybe that is one of the conclusions people come to. But the point is like, it's in the firm's interest to try and like maintain this like model as long as possible. And with AI coming, like you can make more profits if you fire people and take the money off the table, as in automate their work. So
that's true, and I guess you keep the relationships, right? So they have corporate relationships that are greased by this social event, and
totally.
I tend to believe that will end at some point too. Like that, I don't know how long that actually lasts, but I mean that's anyone's guess.
I mean, so I posted something on LinkedIn a few weeks ago around AI taking over jobs, and someone commented about sales jobs aren't going to get taken over, right? Because people still buy from people. And I'm like, yeah, but do agents still buy from people? Because when the agent is doing the buying, what happens then? I think it's kind of a little bit what happened in ads with Google. So like ads were suddenly bought programmatically.
Yeah.
And then people didn't get taken out to dinner anymore.
Right.
So like, yeah, what happens I think all sales is going to change too.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. So back to you get to see a broad spectrum of agreements now. In AI specifically, there is this passing the buck on the liability that we're still sort of like sorting out. So the example is, you call in your Ford. I think this actually happened, right? You call in your Ford dealer, you're negotiating for a car, and all of a sudden you prompt inject the bot, and the bot just gives you the car for free, like a Ford 150. You was off the lot, and the whole hallucination happened, like, and documented, right? Whose fault?
Well, it all comes down to the contract, basically. It's not going to be the Frontier model. They absolve responsibility.
It won't.
It won't be the Frontier
Okay.
model. I mean, the contracts are pretty clear. Like you're not allowed to build stuff that causes that kind of issue on their platform, or if you do, they don't take any responsibility. Essentially, that's what it comes down to.
Okay.
And then it's all the question of like, does the agent company or the customer take their responsibility? And
Right.
if that's not written in the contract, that's super scary.
Okay.
So write it in the contract. Make sure it's written. And typically, the best practice is the customer takes the risk and agrees that they will monitor the outputs of the agent.
Yeah.
Now, there's a little bit of a conflict there, I think, because the perfect experience is where the customer of the agent doesn't need to worry anymore. The agent does everything, right?
Right.
It's autonomously makes decisions.
Right.
But there isn't really a solution. People haven't come up with a solution to that yet. And I think it basically comes down to money.
Right.
So
It's always comes down to money.
it always comes down to money.
Yeah.
Are you willing to pay enough money to insure the risk?
Right.
Essentially.
Right.
This happened in, offshoring or like contracting workforces where like, if you contract with someone in a jurisdiction that you don't know, then you generally take the risk of like, if something goes wrong with the laws of that country or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you can pay some providers a additional sum of money, quite a big sum of money, usually about 10% of the contract value, in order to insure that risk away. And then the company takes it for you.
Yeah.
You're just buying insurance, right? And it's
Right.
a really, really high, expensive thing.
Yeah.
So I think it just comes down to money. Like, are you willing to pay enough money to insure the risk away
Right.
as the agent company? If you are, you charge the customer enough. If the customer pays you more money,
Right.
you can insure the risk away, then you're fine.
But but the part I don't understand is like people selling these agents, right?
Yep.
Are not, for the most part, they're not big companies.
No.
Right. So, maybe you can pay for that Ford 150 that was driven off the lot for free, and that's a one-off. But like, you can't take that liability. Like, you don't even have the money to take that liability.
No, and that's why big companies.
Whereas OpenAI does. You see what I mean? And like, the prompt injection happened because you told the bot to like act as if you were crazy and giving away trucks for free or whatever. So like, it seem absurd that the LM will take zero responsibility around this, and the only people holding the bag are the people building on top of it, because then that would prevent them from actually building products, wouldn't it?
I don't think that is absurd because they're not charging you enough money.
Yep.
In order to take that risk. Like
Mm.
the Frontier models are so cheap
Mm.
because they're not taking any of the risk,
Right.
and also they're losing a lot of money
Right.
just to doing
Right.
just
It's pretty bad the way it is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they have a business case for why it will make money for them in the future, which I buy into. I believe that business case is true.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're not paying them enough money, so you could probably find some kind of insurance broker that you could pay additional money to,
Yeah.
who might take that risk from you, right? But basically, also as a big company who is contracting with a smaller agent startup, they're going to look at whatever indemnity you give them. They're going to look at that and go, it's meaningless because like
Right.
you're worth 10 million or 100 million.
Right.
My risk as a big like enterprise, if something goes wrong, is absolutely astronomical.
Right.
Like it could take 10% or 30% off my market value. Right?
100%.
With truly autonomous agents, it could create all sorts of damage.
Correct.
So yeah, it's a startup. You're often not in a position to even give an indemnity, even if you want to give an indemnity, because you don't have enough money.
Interesting. So even if you give it away, like, it means nothing.
It means nothing. But the best practice is usually not to give it away, right? You should typically be super clear in the contract who's responsible. The customer's responsible. And if something goes wrong.
So let's pick on this. So
Yep.
what is the best practice in indemnity when it comes to indemnity, right? Because like so usually as a startup,
Yep.
you're dealing with much bigger customers, right? Like your customer usually have an agreement that says you have, bottomless and infinite liability for whatever you do wrong, and we multiply that by 10, and then that's your indemnity. So what you come back with what? Like what is a good?
I mean, 12 months trailing revenue is typical,
Yep.
right? Which is not very much.
Right.
It's also really important to classify your agent as not taking full responsibility, as being a tool the customer uses.
Yep.
And the customer still has to look at the output and make a judgment, right? So that you're classified as a tool and not as like a service.
Right.
Because if there's different tax consequences, there's different liability consequences. So like it's actually quite important foundationally in a contract to be a tool. And you'll see that basically everyone does this, right? They say that we're a tool. We're not here for, you need to check the output. It's your responsibility. You check the output of our tool.
So what happens if you consider yourself a service? Like what is the difference?
You go into a different tax bracket, essentially.
Oh, interesting.
So your actual tax that you pay on the revenue changes.
Okay.
The law on this is super new. So as in it's in the courts right now, right?
Yeah.
But basically different states in the US are coming down on the sort of different tax laws depending on whether you're a service,
Okay,
or a product or tool.
Yep. So, okay, so the best practice is be a tool.
Yep.
And hold the tool owner or the tool
User Yep.
accountable, the tool user accountable for the output of the tool.
Right. Exactly. And then also you've got, you gotta be a little bit careful about like what happens to you when it comes to liability if a customer misuses your product. So for bad things.
Okay.
So like the frontier model,
Mhm.
if your customer does something bad, they could shut off your service. Like
Yep.
shut your whole company down essentially.
Yep.
Because everyone is so reliant on these frontier models.
Right.
Now, what do you do if suddenly one of your customers misuses your product? It's relatively easy nowadays. If you try and hack your own product,
Yep.
it's kind of scary as an agent builder, like how easy it is to kind of like get around these with the prompt injections and all sorts of things.
Yep.
Like and if you get if a customer misuses your product, and I don't think the big frontier models will shut you down just because of like one mistake, but they might do. Suddenly your whole product goes down because the frontier models have cut your access.
Yep.
And now you've got contracts with all your customers that says you're going to continue providing a service to them, and it suddenly become a critical part of their infrastructure.
Interesting.
You're unable to provide, right?
Yeah.
So make sure that you also have like carve outs for third party issues, as in if your access gets taken down.
Interesting.
That you don't suddenly owe the everyone loads of money.
Right. What else should agent builders be in the lookout for when they're contracting with big customers? So specifically the ones that push them around. So indemnity is one.
Yep. Indemnity, classification of service.
Yep. You're a tool, not a service.
You're a tool, not a service. Who owns the data is really important.
Oh, interesting.
Typically, the best practice is the customer, the user, owns the data.
Yep.
You have a license to that data so that you can use it to train your models.
Yep.
You don't want to own the data. I'm sure there are situations where you do want to own the data. But if you own the data, you become responsible for it. Like, its safety and all sorts of other things too, right? It does change the relationship. So typically the customer owns the data and you have a license to it to train your models. Make sure that's really clear.
Yeah.
I think it's really important for agents to have access to that data to train. Because if you don't, like, you can't get better. I think you want to try and get out of this, like, ultimately other people will catch up to your workflows that you've built on top of these frontier models.
Right.
How do you accelerate beyond those other competitors? And often it comes down to data.
Right.
So if you don't have access to that data, which some players choose not to.
Do you use it for just evaling, or you use it for like a retraining of the model? Like how you see the data being used? And do you have to specify how you're, like, usually when you license the data, you have to tell them what are you going to use it for?
Yeah, I think you just try and be pretty broad with it.
Yeah.
Which is like, we can use it to train our system.
Got it. And of any part.
Yeah. I would try to be pretty broad with that. And I think you don't train the frontier model, but you do, like, use it, like, depending on what tool you use, right? We use LangGraph and LangSmith quite heavily. And essentially you kind of search through things like users history and general other kind of like abstractions that you create to try and change the prompts that you send over to the frontier models.
Right.
I think you can train your own models too. That comes probably a little bit later once you've got slightly more data.
Yeah. This is a huge mistake people made, but they talk about it, of like using customer data from one customer to train the model that is being used in another customer. How do you avoid that, given that, I mean, you can segregate the data as much as you want to, but there will be, you know what I'm saying? Like, there will be a leakage, and you may want some of that training to inflect from one customer to the next.
I think you have to be super deliberate about what data specifically, right? It's like personal data. You don't want to.
Right.
I think I saw some horror stories recently where things like emails, if you give access to your emails to a model, someone else can like prompt it in the right, send you some kind of request that sits in your calendar that then prompts the model to send it to me. And you can like basically you can start to hack data.
Interesting.
So you have to be really careful, I think, with what you do with data.
Yep.
And how the agents protect against like data sharing between customers.
Yep.
When it comes down to models, I think it's the same kind of principles, which is like what data are you taking from one customer to train a model, and like how you and it comes, don't put in commercially sensitive private data. Basically, is the basics, right?
Interesting. Yeah. So let's talk about the you have access to all these contracts, and I'm still, remember the windsurf situation?
Yeah.
In which, only a handful of people left, and like the rest was left holding the
For a lot of money.
For a lot of money they did.
Yeah.
So let's talk about employment law for a minute, if we can.
Yeah.
Like, how does a new employee at a startup protect themselves from from getting windsurfed, if that's a term, from like the company grabbing all the assets and taking the toys away and then just running away with the money, and you're getting stuck with nothing after 5 years of hard labor, hoping for that big payout?
Yeah. That's I mean, I think it comes down to negotiating position of the employee, right? I haven't come across any innovative structures where you can truly realistically expect as an employee to go in and change the option plan of a company. Like, no company's going to agree to that, right?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping something more will come out of it, and like the whole thing kind of like got subsumed. And again, the news cycle in the U.S. is so fast with like new things happening every week,
especially at the moment, right?
Especially this moment. But I was hoping that something more would have happened. Like, what would you expect?
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Like, windsurf safe option agreement.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I love it. We should create one.
Because like I was like, oh my God, like now everybody's liable to get windsurfed, and like it kind of went away.
You're totally right. I don't know what I mean, obviously cash is the clear thing, right?
Right.
Like, you could clearly contract that risk away,
right?
If your employer was willing to put in place a windsurf safe option agreement.
There you go.
So basically, it's down to founders.
Right?
Are you open?
So maybe that should exist in the GitLaw corpus of data of like
I think it should.
A windsurf employment agreement.
I love it. I love it. Option agreement.
Yeah, an option agreement that prevents everybody to run away with the money.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna work on it tonight.
What other egregious things have you seen in the world of agents? Of like, I was having this conversation with a customer that had a BPO agreement. And, they went to the BPO and said, hey, like, it's coming to an end. There's agents who do the same work for a lot cheaper. And the BPO said, no, I'll come up with an agentic agreement that will lower your cost. And then, the BPO decided to pass all the liability through and like not take any liability for the activities of the BPO. And then like now they're both stuck. Like neither will move because this customer wants agents and the BPO doesn't want to take the liability for the agentic behavior. Have you seen that becoming an issue, and how does that get resolved?
I think it comes down to pricing and down to commercial terms, right? Like if the BPO or if the service provider is charging you enough to make it like reasonable that they take the risk.
Yeah,
make sure they take the risk.
Got it.
If they're not, and they're trying to match an agentic solution that's not taking any risk, right? It's not reasonable to expect them to take the risk.
Right.
I think the risk is the key issue when it comes to agent contracting stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, like when it comes to product, it matters more about, is the product any good? When it comes down to contract, risk is the key issue. And it all comes down to, is the customer paying enough to make it reasonable for you to take the risk?
Got it. Do you see an insurance industry being born here?
Yes.
Where somebody else takes a risk so that you don't have to, and then you buy the insurance, and then sort of they aggregate pools of risk around this?
100%. The problem is, I've tried,
and
no insurance company has any clue what's going on.
Interesting.
That I've come across. Like they will work with like, you will get some specialists who work at like really, really big insurance companies who like probably insure, Google or something, right?
Right.
But if you're a startup of like any reasonable size, I haven't come across an insurance broker or insurer that actually understands it, and they don't have to take the risk, right?
Right.
Because they're like, we're an insurance company, we're generally risk adverse.
Right.
We're all about understanding the risk and ensuring things that we understand, and we have enough work in that space. We don't need to move into this crazy AI thing yet. Right? So it's not in their interest to address it. So I haven't seen any. I'd love if anybody watches this podcast and they're like, I am that insurance person.
It seems like a huge opportunity.
Huge, but it's also like a huge opportunity to take a bunch of risk on that you don't understand. And then,
that was funny because I met a kid in San Francisco who told me that he's building an insurance company for AI agents. Yeah, I'm like, do you have an experience in doing this? And he's like, no, like I don't need experience. I'm like, well, this is gonna be an
easy way to lose money.
This is an easy way to lose money. But you do see one coming from where? Like you think that this is going to be the foundation models going to offer it, or like the proper insurance companies are going to offer it?
I think both. I think they have to, because the world's changing. Agents will take over from non-agents, from humans.
Right.
And so their whole customer base is going to disappear, go out of business, right? And agents will come into business. So if they want to keep insuring, they're going to have to insure agents.
Interesting.
But it's not going to be quick.
Got it.
I think we're looking at probably, 5 years before we see it, which is a very long time in the world of AI.
Yeah. So let's get into speculative territory now. So like when you see an agent, so in your case, you're fully almost replacing a junior lawyer, right?
Yep.
And that junior lawyer lives in, say, Massachusetts, right? And this agent is replacing the junior lawyer in Massachusetts. And that junior lawyer makes, I don't know, let's say $100,000 a year. And they pay, 35% in federal taxes and maybe, 10% in state taxes. So the state is losing 10 grand now that it's being replaced by an AI agent that is called a tool.
Yep.
And it pays 0 taxes.
Yep.
What happens ad infinitum when all the junior lawyers get replaced and this 10 grand all of a sudden goes to 0 1,000 times? That seems like a lot of money to me.
I mean, it gets worse, right? What happens when unemployment rises, if it rises, and suddenly it's not just that, at its eventual conclusion, if
eventually there's a safety net, right? Like where the state and the federal government catches you, but there's no funding for that safety net anymore. So where does it come from?
Universal basic income, right, is what you're referring to, right? And
you would think, but
whatever you call it.
In the US, we don't believe in that. So like, what happens?
Which is really interesting. So that puts Europe at an advantage in that world, right? I mean, advantage or disadvantage, depending how you look at it,
right,
the payer or the receiver. But like, Europe has kind of got a model for that,
right?
So increase taxes further, essentially,
right,
corporate taxes, right? So that the agents get taxed and really high, be able to pay for everyone on universal basic income.
But wouldn't that stifle innovation then? Like if you start taxing agents as they're coming out?
I mean, sure, but like if
it's kind of like the same, like the internet commerce. Remember, like the early days when nobody paid taxes and now there's taxes for everything. Like, isn't that the same argument? Like you need to let it ride a little bit more.
I think that's true. I also believe in not stifling innovation, of course, but like ultimately, if it's so cheap and easy to provide agent services, but you have to pay 80% tax to be able to provide it, there'll be businesses in there that are happy with 20% margin on.
I mean, that's a massive.
I made that number up.
Yeah.
You're talking like big numbers to be able to support everyone else, right?
Right.
So I don't know where the right level is, but I think it's more interesting what happens in the US where there isn't that model,
right?
Where the same thing will happen, but they're not as used to paying essentially universal basic income type money.
But isn't there a some kind of prior, like in the Industrial Revolution perhaps, where like you went from like hand making stuff to like, I don't know, the loom maybe, or something else that existed that automated a bunch of humans away, and then somehow it will end up okay?
100%. And that's what all the economic theory says, right?
Yeah.
The economic theory says that everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Because whenever this happens,
right,
and it's happened many times, as you say, people find different jobs.
Right.
And I do, half of me truly believes that's going to happen, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
But there is part of me, and I wonder what you think, but part of me does think, well, the AI is becoming so good at doing what we do.
Right.
And also robots are becoming so good.
Right.
You can buy for like 10 grand, you can buy a robot right now that stands up and walks around your house and does stuff, right?
Right.
Not very well, but it does stuff.
Right.
That's going to be better and better and better.
Right.
Like, what happens? Like, what will humans do? I'm sure there will be something that comes out of it all, right?
Yeah,
And I think we'll end up paying for human experiences
Yeah.
a lot more. So
Right.
if a robot can cut my hair or a human can cut my hair,
Right,
I'll pay more for the human
right,
because it's a human.
right,
And you kind of do that with artisanal cocktail bars or coffee bars already,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like, I think that will happen more. But is that enough to kind of employ everyone? I don't know. I really don't know.
Interesting.
I guess people in the days of the loom had the same worries
Yeah.
and it worked out. So
Yeah.
I'm probably, I probably shouldn't be scared, but I kind of am a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I just think is like the difference is just massive.
Yep.
Meaning, there's thousands of junior lawyers coming out of, law schools that are unemployable, very soon, right? And that is a huge tax loss if you include the ones that are already employed that are not gonna be needed anymore. So, and the difference is not like the difference is not in the margins. It's actually, very, very, it's huge. It's very, very large.
And it's not in the near future, it's now.
It's exactly, and it's happening all at once.
Exactly. And I think the rate of change, people have never seen this rate of change before,
Right.
like the speed. And I'm seeing this, like, it's also kind of scary from like a founder perspective, the 996 phenomena in San Francisco,
Yeah.
where people are working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week
Yeah.
because the opportunity is so big and it's all right now and it's moving so fast. They know they have to get on the boat, right?
Yeah.
So that is like,
Do you think it's opportunity driven or is it fear driven? Is it
Both.
because okay,
I think, mainly opportunity.
good.
I think it's mainly opportunity. In fact, for those founders, probably like 99.9%.
Yeah.
But a little bit of like fear of, if I don't figure it out this time, as in the next 2 years,
Yeah.
will the opportunity still be there in 2-3 years?
Yeah.
Will kind of the space be much more
100%.
mature? I think
Yeah.
it will be more mature in 2 years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think there is like a now thing. You
Yeah,
need to work on it now, work on it hard.
Yeah.
But with lawyers, if you publish a JD for a lawyer, and I've done this myself recently, we have some lawyers in our team, you'll get hundreds of applicants of super qualified people from like
Interesting.
great universities
Interesting.
who just want the opportunity to do something related to law
Interesting.
because they haven't got jobs.
Interesting. So this is slowly creeping up.
It's here and it's going to get.
But you don't hear it in the discourse right now. Like it doesn't come up in the political discourse of unemployment yet.
It doesn't. You're right.
It's not showing up, and then
I mean, you see kind of like the government has a new AI agenda or like an initiative or whatever.
yeah.
You don't really see much of it. And again, I'm in a bubble, right? And we're in a bubble, I think.
Right.
Like I think about this every minute of the day.
Yeah.
And I'm like obsessed with it. And I think the whole world is changing.
Yeah.
But then I walk out on the street and no one else is bothered.
Right.
And everything's still
Right. And then you're the crazy one.
But I'm a crazy one.
So what gonna tell your kids? What kind of jobs you're gonna tell them to go get? What kind of education you're gonna tell them to go get?
I have no idea. My kids, I've got 2 kids. One is 3 months old.
Well, we're running out of time. You better get on with this.
Right. So they're so young. I think I've already got another like 3 or 4 years to like before I need to start giving them career advice. I think it'll be clearer in 3 years time.
Okay.
I would say just be curious and like be if curiosity is and ability to be adaptable and like I think is going to be important. I think human skills will be important. You'll still need to communicate with other humans.
Yeah.
I think that we still learn maths even though we have calculators.
Right.
I would say math is still a really important skill.
Right.
Despite calculators,
Yeah.
I do think programming will still be important despite AI being able to program because you have just to understand how stuff works. Right.
Right.
I think it'll probably still be important, but I don't know.
Interesting.
What do you think?
I don't know. Like I think that I agree with you that the personal skills are kind of important. Even though there is this saying of like how 2/3 of or 70% of communication is nonverbal. So there is a lot about like how humans feel other humans, face expressions, etc. that are really hard to like mimic. And like I would say that the return on investment of creating that in a bot is kind of low right now. You see what I mean? So humans will still prefer doing other humans. I was listening to a podcast yesterday that was talking about how like there is thousands of generated podcasts right now, and they're not that good. And like why are they not that good? And the reason is because a lot of podcasts talk about experiences, and humans can talk about their experiences that they have had because they haven't had them, right? So they're infused with feeling and these memories, and color and other things that agents just haven't had. What I mean, and they're just invented. They're just borrowing from different people, And when you put it together, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
And there's no feedback loop, right? Because a feedback loop takes too long. You either listen to it or stop listening to it. You see what I mean? So you don't get anybody to correct you. So there's no reinforcement learning at it. So you continue to create slop, if you would.
Yep.
So I wonder where that ends. But I mean, frankly, to my older kids, they're all going into nuclear energy.
Energy to power those chips. Yeah.
So that's good. But that's a now thing. I don't know what will happen in 10 years. So
it's super interesting. It plays on my mind a lot. Even questions of like, should we be having kids in this world where you've got like global warming and AI is going to take over everyone's jobs, and are there going to be like riots everywhere? Like, who knows, right? But I still think I believe in the more optimistic view. I believe it's actually going to be. I believe we all work too much.
Right.
As a human race, we work way too much.
Well, I feel like we work a lot less here in London than we do in the US. But general, like, we can do away with the bank holidays. That would be pretty great.
Well, it's hard sitting here in the UK. We're looking over into the San Francisco founders doing the 996, thinking like, bam, like this is intense. Like and we need to compete, right? So like we need to win against because it's a global field.
I mean, Harry Styles keeps talking about that. Like, we're getting outcompeted by the US because of the 996. But we'll see. Granola's still here, 11 Labs still here, and they do.
I love granola.
Everybody uses granola.
It's just simple and works perfectly.
100%. 100%. Any other tips and tricks for the listeners out there in terms of legal contracts and things to look out for and how to save money and get better work?
I think don't stop using. Find and work with great commercial lawyers, but do not pay for stuff that could be automated, and so much that can be automated.
Yeah. So start with the automation and then go look for a commercial lawyer.
Yeah. And it's just like you'd hire a internal person in your team who's really knows how to do stuff.
Yeah.
Find some.
Any tips to find a good commercial lawyer? Is it references, or is it do you have a set of questions that you ask a commercial lawyer that would discriminate great versus non-great?
For me, it's always references.
Okay.
Always, as in like recommendations from people who've worked with these people. And it's basically, usually it's people who are commercially minded, who have seen lots of deals, who are very kind of friendly and talk well. So are often included in these conversations and are able to get the right deals with other humans.
Yeah.
The problem with those people is they're in high demand, super high demand.
Right.
So you do need to pay them well, but also make sure that once you've signed the deal, you actually get their time and not some ingenious time.
Interesting. So you mentioned a minute ago that the difference in a great commercial lawyer and a non-great commercial lawyer is their ability to negotiate, to find stuff and negotiate around. So why not just get better on negotiation?
Everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Why don't you go, read Never Split the Difference, or
I have, and I recommend everyone should.
Yeah.
Everyone should try.
Or is it that you don't get enough at bats to get better at it? Whereas a lawyer, that's all they do all day long, several times a day. So they're going to be, by definition, better than you.
Well, I think you also have, first of all, I think AI will also get good.
Yeah.
So AI will be able to help you because it's all about, I think, repetitions of the same kind of contract. So if you've seen an M&A agreement 1,000 times, and you've sat in the room 1,000 times negotiating an M&A agreement.
Right. You heard every angle of it.
You're going to know roughly what can be talked about, right? And what the other party is going to agree.
Right.
Also, you know who the other lawyers are because you've probably met them in the other deals.
Yeah.
And this guy or this lady doesn't understand this that well, and I can usually get this one on this person, right?
Got it.
So you get to know the individuals.
Got it.
AI will be able to do the same thing too.
Got it.
So it's all about repetitions and
all right. So find a busy one.
Find a busy one.
Find a busy one. Find a busy one. Got it. It's kind of like when I got a vasectomy. You want the guy who does 1,000 a day, right? You see what I mean? Because that's the kind of thing that you want to make sure that they get right.
Right. Same with eye surgery.
That's another one. That's another one.
You want to find someone who really does a lot, and I think isn't that true for almost everything? Someone who's busy. Where do you want somebody who's quiet?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because there's always a rubric. Like if you want something done well, you find the busiest person in the room, or and it's the same rubric, right? Like usually the busy people are the ones that know the most,
and that's why people go to the restaurants that have got queues. Even though the experience you could argue is a little bit worse because you got no queue.
100%.
But you go there because you trust the crowd.
100%.
And that's not going to change.
All right. So find a busy commercial lawyer. And that's a rubric for success, and then prompt everything else.
Right. And it's probably worth paying more for the great lawyer
Okay.
than a little bit less for someone average.
For the next one.
Because they will make their hourly rate back in like, in half an hour of getting the right thing negotiated for you.
That's amazing.
But don't pay for like stuff that you can automate.
Interesting. So no junior hires. Don't pay for the junior hire. Don't pay for the second rate attorney. Go tippy top or prompt. That's it. Barbell strategy.
That's what I would do. That's also wishful thinking a little bit. A good lawyer will probably say, I'm not going to work with you or for you unless you let my junior person come on the deal too. But I think that will change.
Okay.
In the next 6-12 months, I think you'll see a lot more lawyers working closely with AI. I'm seeing it already. There are a bunch of law firms with fantastic commercial lawyers who are AI first, who work with AI tools. And that's who you want to work with.
So what do you make of so the model that Harvey's pursuing right now is one in which you come to the good firm, right? And they give you two options. You can work with the 100% with the top attorney in whatever your case, or you can work with an AI with a lawyer supervision, and one is 10x more expensive than the other. So how will you go about it as a client? Will you pick the AI plus the top commercial lawyer, or will you pick just a straight up the top commercial lawyer and letting go?
I'd pick the AI every time, wouldn't you?
That's what I'm asking. Like I think that's a win. Like
it's a no-brainer,
right?
Like, every time. The question is just like, is it really 10x less? Because
probably won't. Yeah, you're right. Probably will be like 30% less or something like
right. But I think it should be 10x less.
Interesting.
Right. But it probably isn't today. It probably is more like 30% less or something like that. And it depends on the kind of deal you're doing as well. And I think a lot of it also depends on like, what are you asking the law firm to do? A lot of what Harvey's clients are doing is, from what I understand, is like financial due diligence or something like that, where it's kind of like, it's not it's like, what are you getting the law firm to do? If it's a simple contract, employment contract, NDA, terms and conditions, you can automate 99.9% of that. If it's like a big M&A deal or an investment deal, it's probably good to have a lawyer on the deal as well.
Interesting. The other thing that I heard, now that you're on this topic, is that one of the reasons people hire consultants, right? Whether you hire Bain, BCG, or McKinsey, is because you want somebody to come to the board and deliver the news when they're bad, especially, that cannot be fired. Meaning, like, they went and did the work, they found all the bad stuff, and they went and go deliver the news, and they become sort of like, the punching bag that fronts the news. So like, maybe that's why you need a good lawyer to get in front of your board and tell them that, that M&A transaction is going to be 3 times more expensive than you originally thought, or we found all this bad news inside the company you were trying to acquire, or after you acquired, we found all this bad stuff in the audit or whatever. And you want something competent, professional, well put that delivers that. And that's why you can't hire AI for the entire thing.
I totally disagree. I think
it's shit.
I think grow up, deliver the news yourself. Like, there's no way I would hire someone else to deliver bad news on my behalf.
Interesting.
Especially not, I mean, if I, for $10, like, a $5 video to kind of like, this is the bad news, Nick, what they want to tell you.
Right. Well, that's because you went to the Apprentice, but for everybody who hasn't gone to the Apprentice, they're like, been through the tumble of the...
grow up and deliver the bad news. I think it's so important to like, not, to like, create your own opinions and like, execute to what you believe, not what your board believes.
Interesting.
I made so many mistakes in my first startup, where I was like doing basically what the board said I should do, and it wasn't their fault. It was my fault for like basically just being an employee and not being an owner
of your company,
of my company.
Yeah.
Right. And then
isn't that weird?
But it kind of happens naturally because these people are really experienced and smart, and they come to the table and they're like, you should do this. And then if you're like, my first company, I was wasn't very self-sure. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And then next time you come back and go, I've done it. What do you think? And they're like, oh, we'll do this now. And okay. And then like a year later, you're like, hang on, like, is this my company that I'm like, is this my vision? Is this someone else's vision? Right?
Yeah.
So like, stick to your vision.
That's awesome.
Deliver.
That's awesome. All right. I think we're going to wrap it with that. Nick, it was so good to have you. We cover so much ground. I feel like everybody will walk out with like a solid agreement and understanding of what to contract for when they're selling their agents. That's going to be super helpful for all our listeners out there. Thanks again for coming.
I enjoyed being here. Thank you so much.